Welcome to Whisperwood Stories. Today we continue the submitted story from last week. User Round Pension. Let's begin. Part 2. Roughly 2 hours into the drive, the rig's front left track threw tension. I didn't need a warning light. I felt the shift immediately through the chassis. A sluggish veer to the left, followed by an audible slap and grind that cut through the low drone of the engine. I killed the throttle and eased to a stop. I dismounted into the crunch of firm wind-packed snow, the cold cutting instantly through the seams in my jacket. Light levels were low. Unending dim twilight casting the world in a silver-gray hue. The ambient band of light along the horizon, barely perceptible from the rest of the icebound sky. Polar twilight. Perpetual dusk. No sun, no stars, just endless horizon and shadow. I crouched down beside the track assembly. A thrown idler or snapped guide link, maybe. The entire lead segment of the portside track was loose, having detracked around the front bogie, dragged along at tension by the rear module. Catastrophic, enough to halt any serious forward movement. I swore loud into the muffled wind. I could idle. I could even keep warm, but any further travel was shot unless I wanted to break out the tools I had spent hours under a half-ton steel undercarriage in negative 40 degrees Celsius wind chill, with no help if something slipped and took a finger. And that's when I saw it. A glow, soft, blue static, roughly 2 miles out by my estimation, low on the horizon, barely visible through a light veil of blowing surface snow. At first, I thought it might be the aurora on the horizon, but it was localized. Too steady. It was a ground source. Help, maybe? I climbed back into the BV, fetched the binoculars, and propped my elbows on the dash. No radio towers, no structures, just a single, low, steady point of bluish-white light. I checked the map again, fanned out on the rear seat. According to every known coordinate plotted on the Vostok route vector, there shouldn't be anything out here. No weather station, no field camp, no markers or terrain features at all, just a bare glacial plateau. I switched on the onboard CB. Any station this net. Any station this net. This is TARS 5 on mobile. How you me. Over? TARS 5 was the designated call sign we used for any long-range or unsecure radio transmissions, if required for emergency use. Officially, unofficially, it stood for Temporary Atmospheric Research Shelter, a generic label used to mask the station's true purpose under a plausible civilian research designation. Static. Nothing but the hollow wash of carrier noise. I hesitated. Then back to daypack, slung on my outer shell, and stepped back into the wind. Conditions weren't terrible. Wind steady at 5 to 10 knots from the east, with visible low stratiform buildup on the horizon. Maybe 5 miles out, maybe less. I gave myself an hour to walk out, recon the light, and return. I left the BV running, battery warmed, alternator cycling, cabin temp at 30 degrees Celsius. I topped off the tank manually, cranked the valve on the reserve jerry can to compensate, and then marked my departure point manually with a reflective, fluorescent survey tape on a tall wooden stake and began my walk. It was probably overkill with the obvious bright lights on the rig and all, but if a whiteout swallowed the BV while I was still within walking distance, I wasn't going to guess my way back through 30-knot winds if it lost power again. Though even still, it would come down to luck. I moved fast. The snow was light and dry. the sort of grainy surface acclimation that made snowshoes practically worthless. Every step sank to just below the knee. I adjusted my gait accordingly, breathing steadily, maintaining heat output without sweating. The wind bit at the gaps around my goggles. The light ahead remained unchanged. At about the 10-minute mark, I began to notice more of them. Other lights. At first, just a second, maybe a third point of illumination. Then more, spaced irregularly along the surface, each casting the same eerie blue halo into the ice and snow. At 36 minutes, I reached the first about 2.5 miles from the rig. A cube, roughly 1 meter by 1 meter, perfectly proportioned, featureless. Its surface was pure white, not just painted, but impossibly white, albeit near 100%. A thick mist clung to its surfaces, like vapor rolling across dry ice. It sat flush with the ice below, grounded, unmoving. I walked a slow circle around it, reaching out just short of the contact, pulling my hand away quickly. No seams, no ports, no panels, nothing. I was scared to touch it, dumbfounded. The glow had no visible source, nor did its thick mist. My watch was dead. I pulled it back inside my glove, tapped it. Nothing. Screen black, no frost, no damage, just inert. I glanced north. The BV was still visible, a warm yellow pinprick in the distance. I could still make it back. The storm hadn't reached me yet. I began my return back, defeated, extremely confused, and quite unsettled. Though I wanted to investigate further, I knew I needed to leave and head back towards the rig if I wanted to beat the storm. I heard it first, a sharp, high-pitched tone, just at the edge of perception. It pierced the air like a sustained whine, mechanical yet organic, almost like white noise, except it wasn't. It was layered, unnatural, vibrating in my teeth. I stopped dead in my tracks, chest tightening. My ears throbbed and then, instinctively, whipped back around. And the cube was gone. In its place, a hole. I walked back towards whatever this was, the noise growing louder with each step. Perfectly square, 1 meter by 1 meter. No disturbed snow around it, just a seamless void in the ground. A negative space, like a pixel removed from our reality. No depth, just endlessness. From it came the noise, high-pitched, electrical layered with something deeper, a rumble buried in the frequency. I stepped closer. Inside was a sky. Not like the sky above me, but bright, daylight summer sky. Clouds, blue, depth, sunshine. It was peaceful. Like someone had cut a square in the ice and opened a window into an entirely different place. I felt nausea in my gut. Not vertigo, something else. My balance shifted. The pressure in my ears changed, like descending rapidly into a pressurized aircraft. I stumbled back, away from the edge. The snow had begun to fall, and I turned, ran, the noise fading as I gained ground. The snow whipped harder now, the wind's velocity increasing, the warm glow of the BV slipping in and out of view, obscured by powder and looming darkness. Then came the sound. An explosion. Not concussive, not airburst. Electrostatic. Like the sky tearing open via live amperage. The world illuminated before me. I turned again. The cubes. All of them. were erupting, shafts of blinding white light firing vertically into the atmosphere, cutting clean through the clouds, illuminating the dense snow like stadium floodlights. Panic took over. I sprinted. The terrain was gone, obliterated by the snow and noise and the light. My chest burned. My lungs clawed for air. My scarf soaked through and froze in layers. I coughed, choked, vomited into my mask. The rig was gone. Lost, swallowed whole. I fell to my knees, defeated. And there, rising from the snow in front of me, another, slow, silent, steam rolling off its surface like breath from an unseen mouth. It was identical to the first, unmarred, impossible, divine geometry. I crawled towards it, hand over hand through the drifts. The cold crept into my joints, my spine, my soul. I stared at the anomaly a foot or two in front of me, studied it through the curtain of wind and snow. Slowly, I slid my right glove off, reaching out, fingers bare now, burning in the negative temperatures. My hand shook as I extended it inch by inch. My final moments. This is it. This is how I die, face to face with the impossible. Death. Relief from the frozen desert. The cube illuminating my outstretched arm and naked hand. The surface met my palm, and I vanished. A flash of bright white light. Silence. Peace. Nothing. Darkness. Moments later, I woke. The first thing I felt was the heat. Thick, dry, and utterly alien. My body violently shaking from the sudden change in temperature. My face was pressed into coarse, sun-baked soil, the scent of wheat and dust thick in my nose. I blinked into a brilliant blue sky framed by golden stalks, swaying in the breeze. The wind warm against the back of my neck. Everything was too loud. Insects chirping, distant crows cawing, the whisper of thousands of dry heads of grain brushing against each other, and a slight ringing in my ears that slowly faded. I hurled once more. My parka clung to me like a wet tarp. I was still in full gear, every zipper and strap accounted for, my boots sinking slightly into loamy, fertile earth. I pushed myself up slowly, the weight of my pack unfamiliar in this heat, my breath ragged, disorientation, disbelief, shock. I turned in place. There was no snow, no cubes, no station, no ice, no hot loons. Just field after endless field of wheat, stretching as far as I could see, broken only by a rusted barbed wire fence and a pale white water tower, far in the distance. I staggered backward a few steps, nearly tripping over the only mark left behind, a patch of scorched earth behind where I had lain, exactly 1 meter by 1 meter, perfectly etched into the soil. My hand still burned, looked down at my one gloveless palm, half expecting my skin to be gone, but it was there, red, raw, shaking, the anomaly still imprinted in my nerves. I checked my radio, fried. I looked at my wristwatch, still blank. I was somewhere else now, somewhere real, somewhere wrong. Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories. If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Do you have a story that you'd like me to read here? Consider commenting or sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. The story in this video was read with the author's permission. Thank you again for listening, and be sure to check out the original Reddit post. Want to support me? Check the link below where you can leave a tip if you wish. And remember, don't let the shadows get too close. Good night.